Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Professor DW podcast. This is week 5 of the podcast, week 4 overall of the NFL season. We did one before the season started. Now that the season is underway, 4 weeks are done of the NFL.
There
Four.
was a failed take.
There was.
We
I'm
figured it
Tony.
out, though.
I'm Tony Davila, Matthew King, Dominic Murphy in the background and the production for us as we get set. Good week of football, kind of crazy. Got upsets ish, ties that weren't expected, but it was still overall a pretty good week, and we'll jump right into it of this week. Congratulations to one Mr. Greg Hargrave.
The barbecue chip king himself.
Yeah, Greg has been around for a long time and gets a win. Good job for him. Gets the big win over Todd Sayer. It was between Todd, Sean O'Neill, and Greg. They were all going into the last 2 games kind of even with each other, and it ended up being Greg coming out on top just because he took the teams that won. He had both of them got the wins. Sean and Todd both had the Jets getting the win there, and that didn't happen. So
We went into Monday night with Todd up a game on Greg, up 2 games on Sean. Sean couldn't win going into Monday night, but he had the Jets, so he could still tie for second. Jets, remember, they were the Jets. So, yeah, ended up being Todd and Greg tying at 13 because of the Dolphins win. They guessed field goals. The total was actually 2,216. Todd went way over with 3,000. Greg went under at 1,786, but that netted Greg the win. Todd still finishes second, still gets his spot in the postseason challenge, but Greg is the big winner of the $27 prize.
And another 2 names get into the exclusive post-game season. We haven't had a double winner yet. We haven't had anybody in the top 2 knock anybody out. So, hey, if this is how it's going to go, we're going to have a full slate of people into the Professor DW's exclusive postseason tournament. And to get into the postseason tournament, that gets you the ticket bonanza, all of the tickets. That is where you can win that. But right now we're doing weekly winners, and Greg is that, and he beat the Professor, so he gets $27 this week. The Professor did a little better than the last week. 6.
Nowhere to go but
That apparently Oktoberfest ended for the Professor, and he was able to right the ship and ended up with 10 correct picks this week. Missed the Jets-Dolphins game. He also thought that Washington was going to handle Atlanta, especially after Atlanta laid an egg against Carolina, but that did not happen.
The Professor gave us his 2 guarantees, Washington over Atlanta and the Chargers over the Giants. Neither of those happened. So the Professor's locks might not be solid locks after all.
No, those are those cheap, flimsy locks that you just pull on it and it opens. But that is how that went. And this week, the Professor probably has some better picks. We're hoping that the Professor has some better picks. Oh, and by the way, that tie, everybody got a point for that because
it didn't really matter.
No.
Nobody got a point or everyone got a point. There was no.
That's like the green space on a roulette wheel is kind of usually goes to the house, but there is no house. So everybody gets a point for that one.
Make
Everybody
feel better.
Comes out a winner, even these 2 Cowboys and Packers fans.
Not a winner for me.
I'll count it as a winner for the Cowboys because nobody expected that to happen.
What happened to the Green Bay Packers defense? We may never know.
And so with that, those upsets, we did have a couple people get some of those upsets right. Our own Tyler Hergert, the Herg, Tiny Hands, as we like to call him. He did pick the Giants to get that win, oddly, but hey, go for him. Good for him.
Yeah, we only had 3 people, I believe. Kevin Hamrick also got it right, and I believe there was one more.
Trent Twombly.
Trent Twombly was the other one to pick the Giants. There were some other. No one really leaned towards Atlanta over Washington. A lot of people picked Minnesota to beat Pittsburgh as well during the week.
Yeah, that's one of those
So you
odd,
kinda,
like,
yeah.
you're overseas, you don't really know kind of deals. And
And the Jags over the Niners was the other big one that no one really saw coming.
yeah, well, it eventually had to happen for the Niners. So many injuries have piled up for the 49ers that somebody had to take advantage at some point, and the Jags happen to be that team. So, good for them. All right, so let's move into the professor's picks for this week. The professor on Thursday is taking the Rams over San Francisco. San Francisco going back on that slide down, finally coming back down to earth. Even though they do have some pieces back, the Rams are just flying high right now. They're playing really good on offense and defense.
The Rams coming off a nice win over Indianapolis, who had looked really, really good through the first few weeks. Rams did suffer that loss to the Eagles, even though they outplayed the Eagles for most of that game. But the Rams, they just find ways to win. They're going to play close games. Injuries are catching up with San Francisco, though.
And then the London game, Minnesota goes from Ireland to London. They are the visitor on both of those, but they're taking on Cleveland, and Minnesota's kind of acclimated already to that area. So, Professor's taking the Vikings over Cleveland, and I agree.
Yeah, I think Cleveland's got a shot. That defense is really good. They struggled last week against Detroit, but they're on the field for a lot of that game. Quinshawn Judkins has looked really good, but they just struggle to move the football through the air. Joe Flacco, I think it might be time to give one of those young guys, whether it's Sanders or Gabriel, a shot. We'll see. But yeah, I think Cleveland's got a shot, but Minnesota probably is going to get the job done, especially coming off a loss. And like you mentioned, Tony, they're already over there.
Yeah, they've been over there. They don't have to deal with the jet lag and all of that other stuff. They're good to go. So, Professor's taking Minnesota there. And so that's early Sunday 6:30 start for that one for those here on the West Coast. So prepare for that one. The 10 o'clock games, Indy over Vegas. Vegas hasn't had that great of a year. They're kind of slow starting. Indy has had a hot start, finally lost one, but are they going to right the ship? Professor thinks so.
Yeah, I mean, Jonathan Taylor's having an insane start to the season. Daniel Jones did finally turn the ball over last week and it ended up cost him. They outplayed the Rams. They had that fumble on the 1 yard line, kind of dropped the ball going into the end zone. And then they had a hold negating a Jonathan Taylor touchdown. The Raiders finally used Ashton Genty, but man, this defense outside of Max Crosby, they just leave a lot to be desired. Just got picked apart by the Bears. So yeah, I think Indy gets back on track this week.
Yeah, Indy for sure. I think they get the win there. In the next game, it is a battle of teams that everybody thought was going to be bad, but one doesn't look as bad. It's the Giants over the Saints. The Saints, probably the worst team in the NFL this season so far. People thought the Giants would be right there with them, but the Giants have been competitive in every game. Jackson Dart looked good in the first start. Cam Scatterboo looks pretty good as a running back. These rookies are starting to take over and climb the ladder for the Giants, but they did lose their best wide receiver. So who's going to be catching passes for the Giants?
And I'll say the Saints have been feisty in every game except for that loss to Seattle. I mean, they just
Yeah.
gave Buffalo a game, but yeah, New York looked really good. Jackson Dart and Cam Scatterboo, kind of a new era in New York. I agree. I think the Giants get the job done, but I think that game's closer than people expect.
Yeah, it could be a little bit closer there. All right. So the professor takes Dallas over the Jets. That's one that's toss up. Dallas defense can't stop anything. That's from a Dallas fan. Again, Dallas fan here. Defense is terrible. Secondary is awful, but the Jets can't pass the ball. So that's good news for the Cowboys that the Jets passing game isn't really all that's there. Defense for the Jets is pretty good, but I think the Dallas offense is going to roll over the Jets.
I disagree. I think the Jets defense is a disaster right now. They haven't been able to stop anyone so far this season. I do think that they'll be able to move the ball. Justin Fields looked really good running the football. Penalties really killed him. I think Dallas wins, but bet the over.
Yeah. Yeah, do that. All right. So in a battle of teams that are pretty good now, going from Dallas and the Jets, the professor's taking Denver winning in Philly. Denver's defense has looked really, really good. Philly's offense is now starting to click. They haven't had that like we're the best team in the NFL type of game yet, but I think Denver's secondary is so good that they're going to limit everything they're going to do, and it's going to have to be a Saquon Barkley win it game for Philly.
I, I think that's what it's going to be. I think Saquon Barkley is going to run the ball really well. Denver's just found a way to lose games. Yeah, they beat Cincinnati. That really doesn't impress me this season without Joe Burrow. I think this is going to be just another Eagles game. It's going to be close. They're not going to blow them out, but I just am going to bet on Saquon Barkley over Denver every time. So
disagrees with the professor.
Yeah. Shocker. You're right.
All right. And then another one of those, you go from that game to Miami and Carolina. Yuck. Miami has actually righted the ship a little bit. They've looked better as the season has gone on. Starting out week 1, you to put them in the same boat as the Saints really is awful, just terrible. But they've actually started to look better. Yeah, Tyreek Hill is out and probably out for the rest of the year. But they still have enough weapons. And then Waller coming in and doing what he did. I think Miami is just too much for Carolina.
I think this game's less about Miami and which Carolina shows up. If it's the Carolina that showed up against Atlanta, I'll take the Panthers every time. We've only seen that team show up once this year. They just got blown out by New England. Miami's feeling good after close loss to Buffalo and getting their first win of the season. I'll take the Dolphins. But yeah, that won't be a game I'll be watching Sunday morning.
Yeah. Next game's kind of interesting as well, as the professor's taking Baltimore over Houston, but that's one that, what is the health of Lamar Jackson? What does Baltimore do? Is Cooper Rush going to start for them? That would be a huge Derrick Henry game if that is how that goes. But Houston hasn't looked great this season so far. So I agree. Baltimore squeaks out a win in that one.
Houston does have a very good defense this year. They've kept them in games, and Baltimore's offensive line has not looked good. Lamar is getting sacked at an alarming rate. But yeah, Houston's offense just looks like a mess. They really don't know who their starting running back is. They really are struggling in the pass game. CJ Stroud has completely disappeared after having a phenomenal rookie season. I'll take the Ravens. Again, going to be a very tight ball game, though.
Yeah. Taking the Ravens, I guess, because you have to take one of them. All right. In the next game, kind of a shocker here, as the professor is taking Tennessee to get their first win of the season over the Cardinals. Professor just doesn't respect the Cardinals and what they're doing.
Arizona, I think, wins this game. They started to figure some things out late against Seattle, and Seattle dropped back to a less aggressive defense. There's not a part of Tennessee's game that I like. Passing game's not great. Running game is okay at best. The defense isn't that strong. And then they started missing kicks last week. So I'm going to take Arizona. I think they snapped this little 2-game skid they're on.
There you go. There's a little bit of an upset bid. The next one, Professor's taking Seattle over the Bucks. I think that Seattle's really, really good defense and all of the injuries that the Bucks have been racking up on offense, that just spells disaster for the Bucks. And I just think the Seahawks are going to take that one. Not taking anything away from the Bucks, it's just they're so injury depleted right now. Yeah, they're getting Godwin back. Yeah, they got the lineman back as well, their offensive lineman, but just so many weapons offensively going down for the Bucks.
You said who you took. Who'd they professor take?
The professor's taking Seattle over the Bucks.
All right. I don't come after me. I think Tampa Bay wins this game as long as Bucky Irving plays. If Bucky Irving's good to go, I think they've got enough. Emeka Egbuka, kid's a star, and he's getting to play in his home state for the first time. They got Chris Godwin back last week. They're starting to use Cade Otton, another Washington guy. Like you said, Tristan Wirfs is back.
That's who it was.
They win close games, and Seattle only plays close games. I give the edge to Tampa Bay, but this is going to be a really fun ball game on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, look for another cardiac kids type of game for the Bucks, as that's kind of what they do on the season, is come from behind and make it a really good game. All right, in the next game, it is a battle of the NFC North against the AFC North, and The Lions taking down the Bengals is what the professor's taking. And yeah, the Bengals look bad.
Yeah, the Bengals are terrible. I'm not going to spend too much time. The Lions are the Lions. Their week 1 loss to Green Bay obviously was just working out some of the kinks. The Lions are back and they blow out the Bengals.
Yeah, that one's not going to be close. Again, go with the over, and the Lions are going to cover it themselves. Up next, the Commanders beating the Chargers. Chargers lose 2 in a row, and the professor's taking the Commanders to get that win. Daniels is supposed to be back, so that's probably why the professor is seeing that one.
The Commanders just have not looked good even when Jaden Daniels has played. You go back to the first 2 games, they beat the Giants. They didn't look great though. Then they lost to Green Bay where they never looked good either. I think the Chargers bounce back. I think that they kind of got that wake up call last week. I think Omari and Hampton can still give them that run game that they need. Justin Herbert's looked really, really good, and that defense is fantastic. And they're playing at home. I know it's not really a home field advantage, but I think the Chargers right the ship this week.
All right. And then one that it looks like the professor might have dipped into that Oktoberfest stock one more time because he's got the upset of New England getting the win in Buffalo. Buffalo always puts up a stinker, but wow, New England getting a win in Buffalo, that's a little weird. Professor. Ugh.
The professor is back to who he was 2 weeks ago, I guess, when he got 6 games. New England doesn't have a chance. Buffalo wins this game. Their stinkers are always on the road. They kind of have had stinkers the last couple of weeks against Miami and then against New Orleans, and they're going to come out. They're going to beat New England, who still has a turnover problem. The Patriots beat the Panthers. That doesn't change my opinion of them. Give me Buffalo big.
All right. And then the last game of the week. We've only got one Monday night game this week because the byes start. 4 teams are on a bye week. Monday night, Kansas City, Jacksonville. The professor is taking Kansas City over Jacksonville. Kansas City seems to be getting everything going in the right direction. That offense actually looked like Kansas City again. Jacksonville's one of those that they're coming up in the right time, but I just don't see it happening. I would pick Kansas City as well over Jacksonville.
I'd take Kansas City too, but I'm more interested in Jacksonville. If Jacksonville keeps this close, I think we're going to have a really interesting race in the AFC South, especially if Houston can get going between those 2 teams and Indianapolis. So I'm interested to see how well Jacksonville plays. Their only loss was weirdly to Cincinnati in the game. Browning came in off the bench. Jacksonville, a big opportunity for them, but I'll take the Chiefs.
Yeah, that is an interesting one. But again, the Chiefs are starting to look more Chief-like as the season goes on. But Jacksonville, hey, they're one of those teams that every few years they'll have a massive bright spot and surprise a lot of teams. Blake Bortles, who saw that one coming. So that's one that be interesting how it works out. But there are the picks for this week. Remember, the deadline is 4 p.m. on Thursday. It's already up. The form is already up. So if you want to go fill it out, you can go do that. That is more than okay to get it done as early as possible.
EliSportsNetwork.com.
There you go. EliSportsNetwork.com. That is where you go to it. And again, you get the ticket bonanza if you get into the exclusive postseason tournament. That's 2 tickets to a lot of the area teams, Seattle teams, Sounders, Mariners, Seahawks, Kraken, Storm, the Tacoma Rainiers, and to Emerald Downs. So that prize package is massive. You can't win it if you don't sign up, and you got to get a win into the postseason tournament as well. All right. There are the picks. There's our little chitter chatter between each other as well. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.
Go M's.